welcome to this is going to be the third Articles of Secession episode. If you're watching this on the Bearfoot Miniatures channel, either head over to Crescent Edge Creative now, where you can see the full episode, or we're going to do the first half here, so you can sort of get into it, and then you're going to be forced over there. So I recommend anyone that's not lazy to go over there now. So today I'm joined by... That's your kid,
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, I thought you were going to introduce me. Some gentleman.
No, you're a strong, independent man that don't need no co-host.
So I'm Alex from Crescent Edge Creative, and always a pleasure to hang out and chat with you, my dude.
Yeah. So basically, what happened was we were going to do a book club for part 3, and we spent. Well, Miles isn't here to be a lit major that can give us all the questions that he got asked on of Mice and Men, but Badab style. So instead we thought we'd shoot the shit and do some just Badab hobby talk. So we're going to do that, and then just talk about anything, I suppose. And then at the end of the episode, we're going to go through what hashtag is it, Alex?
Badab After Dark. Yeah, so we pulled up Badab After Dark because the horses got out of the barn so fast. We were just like, let's just look this up. And then we cut and we were like, you know what? Let's just come back. So you're probably gonna be confused because our wardrobe changes weirdly. So it's the same in the beginning, in the end, but then we change halfway through the middle. But it's all choice. I think folks will enjoy it.
So we will get into that now.
Anyways, Miles will be back later. And if you're in Montreal, you'll see him at the course, I'm sure, next weekend. Right on. So as always, our other joyous sponsor, Epic Basing. Make sure you check out Make It Epic on Instagram and epicbasing.com for all your STL needs if you've got a magic box at home. If you don't, he does sell physical prints as well. So you can do and get whatever you need to pump up, to elevate your basing, to raise the floor on your basing. I
purchased them through my work account through my work email, and I've been using them on landscape models as a professional thing. They are good enough. They pass. My very picky boss was very happy with the quality of the plants for the planting that we used on our models from Epic Basing. So there's one. My incredibly picky boss.
Hell yeah. I shrunk it down and I smashed a bunch of the STLs together to make little tiny ruined buildings with sandbag emplacements to put on my Titanicus bases. Nice. Yeah, so I think I dropped them down to 30%, which is a little bit bigger than if I actually took it from 28 mil to 8. Yeah, because that's 25%. But at the 30, you can see it a little bit better, which is fun. It's going to look very sharp. I'm very excited for them. Nice. I'm hoping I can bring those with me to Scandus because I'm not going to have enough. I don't think I'm going to have enough Badab ready for us to do anything. But maybe I will. I got 2 months. I only have to finish another 25 custodians.
Only another 25. It's all right. Just spray him Balthazar gold or whatever you spray custodies. Then give him a wash. Probably.
So the gold's all done. Because I did it in one fell swoop. So kind of an aside, I'm sure there was custodians somewhere in Badab watching something. Emperor's will, all that. But I managed to get my hands on 2 of the cans of the old Tester's black lacquer, the gloss black lacquer in a spray can. So I base coated everything with this gloss black lacquer, which is crazy reflective. Yeah. And then I mixed up my own gold paint to put through the airbrush and put that through. So it's hyper reflective and looks like friggin' future metal. So it actually looks like auramite. So I'm contrasting it a little bit more by not weathering the auramite, but everything else on it kind of shows wear and tear. So I wet blended the blades so that way it actually looks like they've been passing through and stabbing through things. So they've got wear and tear, and then the leather's all worn up, and then the bases are all like heavily beat up.
Did you not find the airbrush like sort of spidered much more easily with a very gloss undercoat?
No. So the other thing I did was I lowered my PSI to about 15.
Right. Okay.
So like it came, and I went slow, and so it came out very gently, and it went on beautifully. It didn't spider out. It didn't pool. When I did it that way, it just came out like nice and smooth. So it looked uniform. And then I just went in and did my shadows and stuff with, actually, I think I just used Shyish Purple, like the purplish black contrast paint. Like just put that in the airbrush. I just put that where the shadows would be. And I did like a spray of Athonian camo shade just from the bottom, like a Nadian shadow of just that. So I've got like all these really like green sort of tones in it and purple tones. So it's a very cold gold at the same time. But yeah, it's sharp. I think you'll like it.
Yeah. So how far actually are you on with your, like, bringing this back to Badab? How far are you on with your Badab stuff up to now?
Yeah, so I got the Raptor about 90% of the way. I got the base totally done with like the epic basing stuff, and that I was surprised at how much fun actually I had painting that. Because I don't paint a lot of foliage. Like I don't get to do a lot of living things. Yeah. It's always like, here's a robot, or here's a fucking guy that used to be a man, but now he's 90% metal and there's no fleshy bits on him.
Yeah.
And so the one I particularly enjoyed doing was the fly trap, because I was like, oh, okay, like, I can play with some magenta and some fuchsia and stuff into it and make it look very alive. So that part I really enjoyed, and I did I think it was a nice color on the Raptor, but the more I painted it, the more I didn't like the model itself. Like I put one of those cool sort of like heavy respirator Primaris helmets on it. And then as time went on, I hated that, and I wish I didn't do it.
So it didn't mature well. It didn't like sit on the palette.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like, and at the time I was like, this helmet's awesome, and it is a cool helmet. But then the sort of historical aspect of me, like the future fake historical modeler, was like, this isn't right. Like, I feel dirty.
Primaris helm, no. Well,
yeah.
So I sort of went the other way of that. I did not get anything painted or completed, but I did actually go further back into time and printed out like Mark 1 Razorback parts for a Demios Rhino.
Shit.
So I've expanded my Badab force from what was a single model last time we spoke into being now like a 1,500 points force. So I've gone completely the opposite tack.
I'm gonna have to follow you, because I know that Badab After Dark will probably be more Kill Team-esque, but I was talking to Freddie the other day, and he's gonna get some physical copies made up of their final version of their Badab Codex. Yes. He's gonna bring some of those to Adepticon. Like, so now I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna have to fit, like, I may not be able to bring Legion Imperialis with me, but I can maybe bring a small Titanicus force, and then 1,500 points of Badab Marines, especially if I get like a little Terminator heavy. So I'm tempted to switch over to Red Scorpions.
Nice.
Because I have a bunch of Red Scorpion bits, because I bought a couple packs of Severin Loth.
Yeah.
And his Honor Guard, because I wanted bits from them. So that I could work them into either Blood Angels or in some cases actually Raven Guard. Like they have those eagle type axes.
Yes.
You know what? That actually might make really good. I might hang on to one or two of those for like my Vexilla holder.
It's falling apart.
For my custodians. No. But but I've got tons of shoulder pads and I've got tons of helmets, and I've got those 2 characters that they released for like the book that never came out, like Fires of Syraxis.
Yes.
And a guy here, actually, we have this old shop. It's like a weird store on one of our sort of like hip avenues, White Ave, and it's called White Knight, and they have tons of like old shit in there. And it's all kind of like commission, or he picks it up at yard sales and he resells it. I picked up 3 of the old school Tau stealth suits, actually. So like I'm pumped to paint those up. I'm going to do like a little Tau stealth kill team. But I went in there for the 90s Marine for the Darren Latham challenge. And so I've been working on that this month too. And I'm sure that derailed a lot of folks, but he had an actual Forge World version of Carib Cullen and Terminator armor.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's OOP. Like, you can't get that anymore. So I'm like, oh shit. So I bought it anyways. And I'm like, I can convert that Praetor Tribune to be a pretty rad model. I don't have any of the new ones, unfortunately, like the new Terminators, which I'd love to get because they're freaking chonky and huge. And then I think I'm either gonna convert out of some of the leftover resin Terminator legs, some true scale dudes, or I'm just gonna print. Like, I'll scale up some of Wilf's stuff, because like his Mark III is coming out here in a hurry. He's got one Mark IV.
Well, he's got some beautiful stuff across his range, hasn't he? That it just, and that's the beauty of printing. It can be done at any scale. Like some of my 1500 points is like ended up because of these fucking Mark 6s, man. The Mark 6s being slightly out of scale with everything else has just now forced the printing to begin.
Yeah,
because it's got to look right. The Mark 4s have got to look right. So
yeah, I'm in the same boat, man. I'm hoping he releases like an expanded Mark IV kit. Like right now, he's just got Malachi.
Well, it's that or
whatever
Tortuga, like doing something with them. Like, I don't know whether the supply's sketchy because they're Ukrainian, but
I think their supply's okay. But for someone like me, literally on the other fucking side of the planet, their shit takes like a month to get to me.
Right.
Because there's a few dudes locally that are using the Tortuga based stuff for Badab, which is cool. Like, it's starting to catch into some of the local groups that I haven't been super involved in lately, but I'm starting to see posts from them with hashtag Badab After Dark.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and I'm like, shit. Like, yeah, one of them's doing Mantis Warriors. He's got like a Mantis Warriors Tartarus Terminator done up. Looks pretty sharp. And I'm like, shit, that looks good. There's another guy who's like just painting all of his little like legions. He's doing Primaris conversions.
Well, to the guy that is doing Mantis Warriors, I got the other day some Mantis Warriors decals from Impatience Decals, and this is not a sponsored thing. I paid for these, but they come out well nice, and they've got a nice matte finish to them. Impatience Decals, and I did not have to get impatient waiting for them. They arrived quite sharpish, so it's worth checking them out, because obviously decals for Badab Legions are just long gone nowadays.
Yeah, and so that it's funny you say that, because I had a buddy give me a bunch of Raptors decals. So maybe what I'll do, at least for the kill team side, is I'll do a couple of Raptors, because in our conflict, like between the Mantis Warriors and the Raptors, there were red Scorpions with the Raptors on the planet. Because it was red Scorpions and Raptors, but primarily led by the Raptors. So I might do like my kill team sergeant or something is that dude with the bow.
Yeah.
And I'll just upscale something and maybe throw like, a Mark IV guy. Because I've got like in the infiltrator kit that I've got, if I scale up the Mark IV kit a little bit, it'll look even better. But he's kind of like walking with the gun up, and he's got like a smoke grenade that's already got smoke coming out of it.
Yeah,
he's
like
man.
Tossing it to the side.
Yeah.
It's like Spider-Manning it into the ground.
Yeah, exactly. So like putting that on a guy who's walking with like a bolter up would be like, cool guys don't look at explosions kind of thing.
Perfect. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. And then, I can use the Mark 7 the Bertrand test model, scale him up a little bit, use him as like a red scorpion, because I've got a few Deathwatch kits or leftover bits of Deathwatch kits from that I used in other conversions, and so they all have red scorpion shoulder pads in them as well. So it's more like an issue of convenience.
Did they scale well with sort of new scale, the Deathwatch kits? Because I've not had any myself. Like
they're about the size of the Mark 6 stuff, maybe a scooch bigger.
Right, but if that's the case, then actually that's like, I don't mind like tiny differences in them. It's more like Mark 4 next to Mark 6, and especially old like resin Mark 4 next to new Mark 6.
Yeah.
Just looks ridiculous. And I didn't think it would bother me this much, but until this month when I bought some, and then it was like, oh, this just doesn't work. Like,
yeah. So the other thing that might bug you is they're in Mark 8 armor. So like they have the gyros on the feet. And then they have like a little bit of additional hip plating, and then it's a little more like snubbed in the gorget. So their helmet like looks like a snub-nosed Mark 7, but you can still usually fit a Mark 7 in there decently. But you can always swap the chest out. So like you could throw a Mark 4 chest on there. You could even or a Mark 3 chest or whatever else, like just a regular Mark 7, and you'd probably never notice it. It would probably just look like Mark 7 armor at that point with like some additional stabilizing gyros or something.
Yeah, like do you know what? I started out really, really particular. And this is like years ago when I got into Heresy. Like really particular on armor marks and everything had to be perfect. And then like over time I think I've just mellowed on it needing to be like rivet perfect on everything.
Yeah.
Like
I feel you, man. Like I am and that's why I built that Raptor the way that I did. But to your point around the Mark 6, like they're just a touch out of scale, like oddly, like, and maybe it's because the Raptor is kind of hunched over a little bit while he's walking, but the arms from the Infiltrator that I put on him look like huge. Like he looks like he's got monkey arms almost, because he's walking sort of with his pistol like down, and maybe if his pistol was up in a firing position you wouldn't notice it as much, but because his arms are down, it looks like his hands almost reach his knees.
I mean, because it's directly comparable to the leg length rather than up,
and
like
exactly.
Not as comparable.
I get that. 100%. Because I've got that, like, when they did the little Raven Guard versus Tau release, I've got that guy, and I made my Alvarix Mon out of him, and I've got like the Primaris big, like wrist mounted whatever. Then I've got him pointing with a Primaris hand the other way, and then I've got his weapons just like in holsters and in sheaths on his waist, and it doesn't look remotely out of scale. Like it looks perfect
because your eyes are distracted by other things.
I think it just balances out a little bit. But like when with the arms that close to, and that I think is what cascaded into the helmet bugging me.
Yes.
And then because the backpack still doesn't bug me. Like I used a Primaris backpack because it looks like a little chunkier, and I'm like, oh, like if they're going to be out on extended mission, they would want they'd probably take chunked up like bigger battery packs, like bigger power packs, because they'd want to be able to last for longer without having to recharge. And so I was like, that actually doesn't bug me too.
Supercharger out on mission.
Yeah, exactly. Or they need to get the crank wheel out, or like.
You don't want to be doing like the wind up, like torch variety of power armor. You don't want that.
No,
they take forever.
No. Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. I'm a bit torn because I still love the Raptors, but also I'm kind of becoming more sympathetic to the secessionist cause. So
it's only natural. It's one thing as we're young and idealistic, we start off on like the imperial side of these conflicts, and then as you mature, and this has been a very rapid maturing process for you in the past 2 months, that you've matured and come to appreciate different points of view, and just come over to the fact that the secessionists are clearly in the right in the sundering in the Badab sector. I mean, it's the only logical point of view.
It's true.
Inarguable.
I think they were largely misunderstood, at least in the beginning, which again makes me think that maybe Lamenters are a little bit better, because then when it gets real witchy poo, it can be like, whoa, maybe I'm not as into this as I thought I was.
Yeah, well, I think the line that I'm going up to is when the Astral Claws take all of the Imperial Eagles off their armor. There's a point like above Badab Primus that they like notice, the Mantis warriors notice that the Astral Claws have taken it off their armor, and they're like, oh, I get what's happened here. We better start doing something else.
Shit.
Rot-row. Like we chose the wrong side of this.
Yeah, yikes, dude.
Yeah. So I'm with them all the way up until the point of taking the Imperial Eagles off the armor, and then no more. Yeah. Then no more. I'm out.
Yeah. Respect. Yeah. Respect it. But yeah, I mean, some of the other guys are still clocking right along. So if you want to check that out, make sure you jump over to Little Legend Studio.
Take a second to just go through some of the models that the other guys have been doing. Now, if you're watching this on the Bearfoot Miniatures channel, don't forget to head over to Crescent Edge Creative for the second part of the Articles of Secession. Now, Crescent Edge Creative will be the home of the Articles of Secession. So if you want to stay up to date, I will be posting the first halves of the episodes, but it will give you a non-annoying way of just watching all of the episode straight off. And I will catch everyone on that episode.